Welcome everyone to the Repicture STEM Career Accelerator Awards Ceremony and student final presentations, made possible by our sponsors, the California Faculty Association and Blue Shield of California. Welcome from the entire summer 2023 Repicture team. When Lynn and I founded Repicture back in 2015, we didn't know we were going to get to work with so many amazing people. And it turns out it takes a whole team to run a program like this. So Lynn and I and the whole team are really excited to welcome you all here today. So I promise we'll get to the presentations very soon, about 15-20 minutes after the hour. We'll start out with an intro to Repicture and this program for our guests. Then we'll have an awards ceremony for our students. And finally, we'll move into student final presentations. So a little intro to Repicture for our guests. Why are we all here today? What drives us and why we started Repicture back in 2015 is that right now, in this present moment, as it was in 2015, we have only a tiny slice of humanity building our future. Technology, engineering, math, science, technology, engineering, math fields are this outsized force shaping the world all around us. And yet these fields are still mostly homogeneous. In some of the fields, the needle really hasn't moved much in the last 30 years. So at Repicture, we want those designing our world to look more like those living in it, and for all of us to be working together, teaming our talents and different perspectives to solve the world's toughest challenges and to build our future. So in the meantime, we've got a bit of a projected talent gap in these fields. With the largest gap in technology and engineering, there's a huge amount of opportunity in STEM, and we want everyone to be able to connect with and thrive in these impactful and lucrative fields. So Repicture is a catalyst for you to reinvent yourself, to invent yourself and reinvent yourself, and create the world you want to see. We're a mission-driven public benefit organization, and we do this by connecting talent everywhere with the world of STEM. We serve all ages and career stages in our programs. All those driven to succeed, make a difference and stand out, and those courageous enough to venture out of what they already know. Our youngest participant in this program this summer is a freshman in high school, and our oldest is an engineering grad student and an intern this summer as well at one of our pilot companies. So both are going to be presenting today. How do we serve such a wide range of students? Well, we focus on those things that you always have to be doing for your career. Working on improving those critical soft skills, growing your professional network, and building your resume. And we use active learning and do assignments that can be tailored to your level. We're proud that our work has been nationally recognized. We've been invited speakers at UC Berkeley in their distinguished lecture series, had papers published at the American Society of Engineering Education, and received awards, including from the Women in Engineering Proactive Network for our innovative and groundbreaking work, joining past winners that include IBM and AT&T. So a bit about our program. We focus on 3 core pillars: professional skills, mentorship, and project portfolios. As you may have seen on our program calendar of events, which you can find on our website, we cover a range of professional skills. So these are those forever skills that you can always be practicing and getting better at, like how our students will be doing today by giving their presentations. One of the best parts of our summer program are the STEM professionals that come and mentor our students, and that includes all of you joining us today. We host panel discussions throughout the summer on various topics, and many of our students follow up with those professionals and stay connected. Students also interview professionals about projects that they've worked on, and we provide near-peer mentoring through our student peer mentors. So these opportunities to connect are especially important for those students who lack a built-in professional network in STEM, which is most people. And it's always a good feeling all around. Mentoring has proven benefits for mentors, and we all get satisfaction from helping others. And beyond that, our students get to tangibly grow their STEM networks over the summer. So finally, we do weekly assignments and practice all those skills we're learning, including researching and publishing articles about real-world STEM projects. So students get to dive in a little deeper and learn more actively about fields they're interested in by researching STEM projects. And one of the most common questions students have is, what can I do with my major? With Repicture, they get to see what they might actually do with their major, who they might work with, and who they might work for. And all of those projects are published on Repicture for the world to see. So at the end of the day, our students get to take something really great with them, as these projects become part of their unique online portfolio of work that says something about them, that expresses their interests and passions and all those critical soft skills that we work on over the summer, like writing and presenting. All of that shows up on your Repicture profile. So for students, it's a way to stand out and discover new opportunities. For STEM organizations, it's a way to find top talent and those people who genuinely are interested in the work that you do. For STEM educators, it's a way to help students connect what they're learning in the classroom with actual careers and the world of work. So, and this portfolio, of course, lasts well beyond the summer. So our past students have used their Repicture profiles to help land jobs, to gain admission to universities and prestigious STEM programs, and to network and connect with others with similar interests and within this STEM community. What we think is also really special is that as students are publishing their own projects, they're also helping us build this database of real-world STEM projects and a new way to explore careers and discover the people and organizations behind everything we can see in the world all around us. Our community is what makes our program successful these past few years, and we're proud to say that we've had over 400 profiles created on Repicture. We've worked with over 100 STEM mentors who have helped provide over 300 hours of mentorship and coaching to our students. And we've been able to work with students from so many different backgrounds and interests and from all over the country and the world. So I'll let our past students say the last word on Repicture, and then I'm going to show here a quick video of some of them now. Whoops.
You can learn about so many different careers, all in just one 6-week program.
Repicture gave me the confidence to challenge myself.
I learned the importance of finding a topic that you're really invested in and interested in.
I think Repicture is just a really great starting point.
They teach you about different things such as networking, getting in contact with STEM professionals. It's really just a great way to put yourself out there and make yourself more known and also get more accustomed to what your future will bring.
I took the opportunity to do the writing. When I did that and I submitted the project, and I was proud that project won. And when I applied for my master's to get the grant, they asked me for a writing sample. And I sent them the writing samples from Repicture. And the advisor was impressed with it. And I got the job and I got the grant and graduated. So I'm really grateful. So thank you guys.
Awesome. All right. So last, before we move on to awards, I want to take a moment to thank everyone that made our 2023 STEM Career Accelerator possible. So we would all not be here today if it weren't for our lead 2023 sponsors. This summer's program was made possible by the California Faculty Association and Blue Shield of California. Thank you so much for your support. All of the amazing connections and relationships that everyone has built this summer are because of you, and I hope you will continue to hear about the results of this program for a very long time. I also want to thank all of our 2023 partners and sponsors, the Cal State East Bay Mesa program, Citrus and Banatao Institute and their Workforce Innovation Program, HealthNet, Headwater Science Institute, and National Education Equity Lab. Our peer mentors, Lisa, Dulce, Joanne, and Maritza, they have been working hard all summer and have been the engine behind this program. Each of these amazing leaders have run this program. They've mentored our students, and they've developed their own Repicture profiles, and will also be presenting their projects today as well. So thank you so much to our peer mentors. And finally, I want to thank all of our 2023 speakers who volunteered their time to come and share their work and their career journeys and give their tips on how to be successful in STEM to our students. If you're interested in being a speaker for any of our future programs, let us know. Maritza will actually put a link in the chat here now for where you can sign up to be a Repicture mentor. And with that, With that, we're going to celebrate all the students who won awards this summer for their hard work. And I will go through these relatively quickly so we can move to the presentations. But yeah, the students have done incredible work this summer. And I just want to also highlight that, you know, these are those students that go above and beyond. You know, we're not a school, we're not, you know, we're not giving them credit. You know, they do get a certificate of you know, a certificate of completion when they complete the program, but they're doing this program really of their own, you know, volition and with their own ambition. So I would like to appreciate every student that won awards this summer. So we have Ari, who won an award for Best Written Profile. We have Ying for Most Inspirational Profile. We have Carolyn for Best Profile Video. Carolyn again for Best Reflection on a project that you worked on. We have Merlin for Best Reflection on an Interest project. We have Julian for Best Project you worked on. And then for week 3, we have Janet and Louie for Best Overall Project for their team project. And they also won for their, they won the Best Overall Project for their team project. Ari and Chelsea for Best Overall Project People's Choice. Yozel, Jima, and Alexa for Best Human Health Project. Ari and Chelsea for Best Project in another category. We have Chelsea for Best Project based on an interview with a STEM professional. We have Chelsea for People's Choice, Best Project based on an interview with a STEM professional. Ari for Best Individual Project. Julian for Best Individual Project People's Choice. Colin, Merlin, and John for Best Team Project, as well as Best Team Project for People's Choice. And for week 5, we have Merlin for Best Overall Project. Alexa for Highest Impact Project, Chelsea for Most Creative Project, and last but not least, Janet for Most Inspirational Project. Yay. Congratulations again to all the winners of this year's contest. So congratulations to all the students for winning awards and all of the students that put in their hard work this summer. So Maritza is going to put a link to the program in the chat, and we're going to move on to today's presentations, what we've all been waiting for. You should have gotten a program by email, but we're putting in the chat again here now in case you missed that. To give you some context to what the presentations you'll be seeing, the students have chosen their STEM projects. You can find a link to their profile and projects on the program. They had the option to present live today or submit a video. So some students submitted videos. We have contests for both. So we'll be announcing those on social. Please follow us there to find out who the winners are. Today's presentations will be judged on visuals, stage presence, and clarity of presentation, as well as time. There will be 3 to 4 presentations per breakout room. Each one will be 5 minutes. There will be 8 minutes for our team. And after that, we'll open up for a few minutes of feedback and question and answer from the audience. Please ask questions and give feedback. We have some really interesting topics and presentations today. I know you all will have questions for our presenters, and I hope you all will also enjoy learning something new today. But I also hope you have questions. Our students really love to get the questions. When we go into our breakout rooms, which we will hear in just a moment, your room moderator will put a link to your room's feedback form in the chat. And you can also find a link to that in the program. So again, questions are welcome, feedback is welcome. One last thing, we also encourage you to please turn your videos on if you can while the students are presenting so they can see who they're talking to and you can show them your support. So last but not least, before we go into the breakout rooms, I want to also welcome and thank all of our judges for coming and supporting our students today. We have Pete, Rodrigo, Priyanka, Mia, Marianne, Brian, Alejandro, Jody, Gary, Sarab, Matt, Katya, and Denise. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time to be here and support our students today. And with that, Maritza has set up some breakout rooms. So we will all be going into breakout rooms in just a moment.
All right, so yeah, let's get started. All right, so welcome everyone. My name is Dulce and I'm going to be the moderator today. I want to introduce and thank all of the judges. First, we have Pete, who is a section chief at River and Hydraulic Engineering section at the U.S. Army Corps. Then we have Marianne, who is a product manager in vivo studies at Gene Tech. And then we have Priyanka, who is a program and student experience advisor at UC Berkeley. And then, oh yeah. So the judges will be scoring the student presentations to determine the contest winner for best live presentation. However, again, if anyone in the audience wants to also provide feedback, just use that link in the form in the chat that I put. So each person will have 5 minutes to present. We'll then have a couple minutes for Q&A as the judges finish their scoring. And then students love to receive questions about their presentation, so try to ask at least one. Yeah, so with that, let's get started with our first student presentation. Our first student presentation is going to be Alexa. Alexa is a rising senior in high school who plans to study pre-med and pursue a career in medicine with an emphasis on psychiatry. Alexa is driven by her desire to help others through medicine and is part of a podcast called Voices of Medicine, which aims to provide information to listeners about careers in medicine. I will also be putting a link in the chat to her podcast if anyone wants to go follow that and support it. Alexa's interests also include songwriting, filmmaking, and neuroscience, which have played a role into what she will be presenting today. So with that, Alexa, you can take it away.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started. Okay, here we go. So, my name is Alexa, and I'm going to be presenting about my podcast, Voices of Medicine. So to start off, this podcast was created to provide listeners with information about the different careers in medicine. In my podcast, we interview medical professionals to hear about their experiences in their field, and we also provide history, statistics, and more information about both specific careers and more broad areas in the medical field. So this podcast was created by my friend Ananya and I over the summer with the goal of informing people about just how broad the field of medicine and healthcare can be. We've worked really hard to put this project into motion, and our first episode was actually released last week, and we have plenty more ready to come soon. So our mission. This podcast began with my own search for information about medical fields as I realized that I wanted to become a doctor. As someone with no doctors in my family or really any connections to medicine, it was really hard to find someone in the field to hear from and, get some direct experiences from. I decided that this was a problem that probably a lot of people could relate to, especially students who wanted to go into medicine but didn't know much about it or have any people to inform them. From there, I decided to create this podcast with my friend so that we could educate students, especially minorities and those with no pre-existing connections, about the medical field and opportunities that are available. So who benefits from this podcast? Well, really anyone who listens to the podcast can benefit from the information we provide. However, this podcast was created more specifically for people that don't have the connections to medicine and want to learn more about it. Not everyone has someone in the medical field that they can ask questions to, so this podcast is made to make that information accessible to everyone. So the process of how we create our episodes consists of several steps. So first, we choose an area of medicine, and this can range from a very specific topic, like in our first episode, we covered psychiatry and we spoke to a psychiatrist, and it really just focused on that one specific career in medicine. Whereas we can also, our next episode is going to cover a much more broad area, such as immunology, which can cover a lot more different jobs, but is still an area of medicine. Then we do a lot of research, which includes looking at statistics, looking at different jobs and advancements in the field, and kind of compiling all that information. Next, we find a professional and we interview them. This can be a pretty tricky step because you have to reach out to people that you don't really know, and then you have to ask them questions about their career and their experiences, and that can be kind of challenging sometimes. Then we record all of the parts of our podcast and we edit it all together, which includes putting the interview in, adding music, blending it together so that it sounds good. And finally, we upload it to different platforms like Spotify so that everyone can hear it. So as we move forward with our podcast, we have a few goals that we would love to reach. Our first is to grow our audience. We want our podcast to reach others so that we can make an impact and make the information accessible to anyone that wants to learn more about medicine. Second, we would love to cover more careers because medicine is an extremely broad area. So there's really hundreds of careers to review. And the more careers that we cover, the more information that people will have and more experiences will be made available to everyone. And third, we would love to contact more professionals. It can be pretty challenging to find professionals to interview, but we always strive to keep making these connections with others. And honestly, this has probably helped me grow a lot as a person, since going beyond my comfort zone and reaching out to people I don't know has made me stronger and more confident. Thank you so much for listening. And if you would like to learn more about my podcast, you can obviously listen to us on Spotify. I linked it below, and you can go to our Instagram page to learn more about it, or our website, which again is linked on the slide. And we are always looking for new people to interview. So if you are interested in participating in an interview, or if you know someone that could be interested, please reach out to us through any of the ways that I listed before. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have enjoyed my presentation.
Yes, thank you, Alexa, for that. Just in case anyone came late, I will put the feedback form in the chat again. And I'm also putting a link to Alexa's Spotify, so please try to support if you can. It's in the chat now. So now we're gonna go around and have a few minutes for feedback for Alexa. So you can raise your hand or you can just unmute and just give your feedback.
Alexa, I actually have a question for you. Is that okay for this time?
Oh yeah. You can also ask questions. Sorry, it doesn't have to be just feedback.
Awesome, no worries. Thank you so much for your presentation. I really enjoyed how clear and concise it was and easy to follow. So thank you for using simple visuals. I have a question about the podcast. Can you say a little bit more about the sort of target audience or the target listeners that you're looking for?
Yeah, of course. So like I said, our audience can be pretty broad, so it can range from really anyone who wants to learn more about it. But specifically, it's more for like students that are either in high school or are like pre-med students that, don't really know exactly what they want to do within medicine. Because often, like in my experiences, I always thought that doctors was like a very specific, like, oh, you work in a hospital, you're like a surgeon or something. And this is just trying to like open that up to see there's just like so many careers that are still medicine and are related. So that's really for anyone who wants to go into medicine in general.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Alexa, have you thought out beyond just like the next podcast episode, who you're gonna or what kind of careers you're gonna seek out, and also what's your process for finding people to interview?
Well, yes, I have a few like interviews lined up right now, so I have the next few episodes kind of planned out of the subjects and what I have to cover for them. And as for contacting professionals, that can really vary. It can be like, oh, I have a friend whose parent is a doctor, or just like all these different connections that you might have and you don't usually think about, or my parents know someone who knows someone, and it's like, you have to go through all these links, or even just like emailing someone that you really don't have a connection to at all, and you just kind of hope for the best and see if they'll actually respond. So it can vary a lot. Yeah.
Thank you.
And just a follow-up question on that, if that's okay. First of all, Alexa, great work. I'm sure this podcast will be incredibly valuable to anyone who listens, especially students with non-medical backgrounds. Was wondering if you're also using any strategies to diversify your topics, or if there's anything you're doing to stay relevant with the latest trends or like the target audience, the topics that would be of interest to them.
Well, I try to like have a variety of different topics. So right now I have the next few interviews I have planned are kind of very different areas of medicine, so that hopefully that can appeal to more people that have different interests in medicine. But I also have like right now I have like a list of all the different careers I'd like to cover, so that I can start reaching out to these to like professionals in those specific fields that can like appeal to more people. So yeah.
That sounds great. Thank you.
I've got maybe one more if we have time. Alexa, how do you think about measuring impact?
Well, okay. Our podcast is really just getting started in that sense, but we do have an Instagram page that I hope we will get more feedback from our listeners through. And, by hearing about people and what they think of the podcast, that can really help us see, who's actually listening to it, what could we improve on so that people get the information that they really want. And I think just, having all this information condensed in like a short episode can, appeal to a broader audience, which can help make an impact, even if it's just, giving you an idea of just how many options there are available.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Does anyone have any more questions or feedback before we get started?
Alexa, first, I apologize. I had some technical difficulties getting in, but I'm here. So I caught the very tail end of your presentation. But with that said, with your podcast, I have just a name. If you're looking to broaden the scope of folks exploring careers in medicine,
Yeah.
You might want to Google, if you have time, Floating Doctors. And the CEO of that loves speaking to audiences and bringing up, Gen Alpha and Gen Z. And he travels down to, I want to say, Central or South America once or twice a year, taking, interns with him, basically. And he has helped over 200,000 indigenous folks down in those areas. So it might be, it just might be an interesting perspective.
Oh, that sounds amazing. So that's Floating Doctors?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it. Thank you. That's awesome.
Sure.
All right. Thank you everyone so much for giving the feedback to Alexa. I'm sure she really appreciates it, and it will help her further her career and her podcast, which I'm so excited to watch grow. So yeah. With that, we'll get started to the next presentation, which is actually going to be me. I am a repitcher mentor. I'm not a student, but I still would love feedback on the presentations, and because I could always get better as well. I'm a rising junior and student researcher at UC Merced. I'm pursuing a bachelor's of science in cognitive science. I'm graduating this year and I plan to go to graduate school and obtain a master's in either data science or human-computer interaction. I'm driven by my passion to improve the use of existing algorithms for the benefit of technological advancements in areas like health and climate. So yeah, with that, I will get started. Can everyone see my screen? All right. So my topic is analysis of air quality using artificial intelligence. This was a project that I did with another student named Jonathan Rivera. So climate change and by extension air pollution is one of the most heavily discussed and debated issues of the century. It has increasingly become a more prevalent issue and certainly an issue that we can no longer ignore. While surveying possible indicators for climate change, we found that air pollution was a strong one. From there are many routes for change that can be followed, and the one we picked was AI. The following slides concern themselves with a data set gathered from a research report, more specifically data on air pollution metrics in combination with other values like temperature, wind speed, and timeframes from districts in Beijing, China. This data set is represented with scatter plots and analyzed using machine learning algorithms. So our problems, please. We sought out to analyze the ethical implications and biases when employing machine learning algorithms to solve and detect real-world problems like air pollution, and also get a hint at the troubling questions we are faced when deploying these solutions. So this data set was taken from Kaggle and provides metrics for different cities in China. We focused on Beijing, China. While many of the metrics are useful, the ones that we use were specifically for the districts of Beijing, China. The data set and prediction is measured in tens of thousands of input labels. The purpose is to predict PM given a variety of input labels. The algorithm that we used was a K-means algorithm, which is under the unsupervised learning branch of machine learning and works by calculating and recalculating cluster centroids, which is the mean distance between given points, so that all points fall into their respective cluster. While conducting these algorithms, we found discrepancies in the data, and we learned that we could not specifically locate boundaries for some of these sub-districts in the data included in the research report. So here's the data. Here we have 3 forms of scatter plots. All of them are labeled with PM, which is particulate matter, aka pollution, as the x-axis. The y-axis on the top is wind speed, the one in the middle is months, and the bottom is temperature in Celsius. We ran the algorithms on one providence, then compared them to the others. Lower wind speeds, wintertime, and low temperatures all were accompanied by higher air pollution. While the centroids allowed us to visualize where the air pollution might be the greatest at a given Y label, they don't tell us the whole story. So machine learning algorithms are used to determine sources and levels of air pollution quickly and then with increased accuracy. This is because the technology is able to find patterns in qualitative measurement data within data sets for better analysis. This is a beneficial impact of using machine learning to determine air pollution data, because this technology can not only alert us when air pollution is at its highest levels, but it also tells us when it's unsafe or projected to be in the future. Given that pollution increased during months, many would assume that it is caused of factories ramping up production or burning wood in chimneys to stay warm. So our experiences and assumptions try to fill in gaps for information that is missing, and in specific circumstances could lead to detrimental changes, such as implementing a machine learning model that might expose what looks like terrible air quality in a given district and make people less likely to move into that district, causing local businesses to lose income. These findings matter because it can assist the Beijing's government and IBM in fixing their algorithm to adjust for these miscalculations, which will then allow them to more accurately predict air pollution data while also monitoring environmental health and ethical implications these data sets might have. And it also allows them to create scenario analysis up to 10 days in advance. This means Beijing's community will then be alerted to potentially unhealthy air pollution data before it happens. they will then be able to tackle this by doing such things as traffic control, plant shutdowns, and other things that can improve their quality of life, which will greatly improve air quality and environmental health in Beijing. So there's my resources, and thank you. So now we will get started to my feedback. Anyone is welcome to give feedback, and also you can use the same form. All three presentations will be using the same feedback form. So thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Thought it was super interesting research, and it was super clear. I guess I just had one question. I guess with what you've started now, or with this research that you've done already, what use cases could you see it being applied to? I mean, like, could you see yourself having this with government agencies or maybe certain groups? Yeah, just curious what your follow-up is.
So this so I could see this being used with like agencies who are working in like climate change, because we could work to create solutions if we had a better algorithm that was more accurate, because right now I mean, with the like AI, it's getting better, but it's not just there yet. And so we're not able to really have good solutions at the moment. We can just do like what we can. But if we were able to focus our time into like this algorithm, for example, it accounted a lot of human-made air pollution, not just environmental. So if we were able to just have a more boundaries, like we only had it to environmental, then we could work on actually fixing like what is wrong with the climate, instead of just like we could specificalize the data is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
I've got a question. I think, oh, sorry, go ahead, Pete.
Oh, no, you can go. It's fine.
So I think you actually answered one of my questions in your response to Marianne, but can you kind of clarify for us, or help us understand, using AI, we were able to get through sort of this really big data set. If we didn't have the assistance of AI, what would the alternative process look like, and how much longer would it take us to kind of draw insights from a data set like this, in your opinion?
Yeah, so I know that specifically with the data set that I used, previously they just had designated people looking at like the data like after it had already occurred. So without AI, we wouldn't be able to predict like future, like 10 days in advance, and create those scenario analysis, because we could have humans doing it, but it would just take way too long for them to go through the data and then have a statistical analysis to create those things. So maybe we wouldn't be able to do it 10 days in advance. Maybe it would be 2 days in advance by the time that we got it done. So
Thank you, that's very helpful.
So Dulce, I just have one comment and then one kind of question, I guess. The one comment was that one slide where you kind of talked about all the analysis. If you'd had a couple, I don't know, like a list or bullet points just highlighted of like some of the factors and some of the issues that arose, then it would have been kind of interesting to see on the slide, here's the things that when we did our analysis that we felt skewed the results or potentially could produce, incorrect responses. And then the question I have is, what were some of the detailed things that you felt that the AI was kind of putting into taking out from the data that potentially, would skew or give kind of the wrong, I don't want to say wrong, but like an answer that could be biased?
yeah, so sorry, I got a message while okay. So can you repeat your question? I'm so sorry. They were
No, it's okay. It was a long question. So what are some examples of parts of the data that potentially could bias the results that the AI was extracting and completely, adding into the result analysis?
Oh yeah, so the research data, they wanted to look at what the weather would be like in populated areas. And since there was no boundaries, they were going in sub-districts that only had factories and that didn't have anyone like living there. And so they would take that into account, but it would just be that specific area. And so then like they would have traffic shutdowns for all of the cities like that are populated, even though their air quality isn't the same as the other ones that they were going into, which was messing up their scenario analysis.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Yeah, so okay. So now we will be getting oh wait, give me 1 second. I gotta help somebody in this chat. Can you send me
I'll take care of Lolita, Dulce.
thank you. Okay, so we'll get started to our third presentation. All right, so our third presentation is going to be Bakul. Bakul is a graduate student pursuing a Master's of Engineering at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign in the field of energy systems. Bakul has also been a part of a publication titled Grid Management through Vehicle-to-Grid Technology, and is currently working as a summer intern at Recurrent Energy as a summer intern with the Development Engineering Department. So with that, Bakul, you can take it away. Oh, I don't think we can hear you.
I hope I'm audible now. Thank you for the sweet introduction. I'll go ahead and share my screen if that should be fine. I hope it's visible. So good afternoon to everyone. I am Bakul and she has introduced me pretty well. So I suppose that I do not need to do that here. My topic for today's project is grid management through vehicle to grid technology. I had worked on this project as I wanted to publish a research paper and wanted to work on research skills. So that was one of the things that I had achieved through this project, and I'll be talking a bit about it today. Coming to the introduction section, I think she has done it pretty well. I'm currently working at Recurrent as a summer intern and working with the development engineering team, where I handle layouts and designing of, let's say, utility scale solar power plants. Coming to the topic, what is V2G? V2G is a technology that allows energy to be sent back to the power grid from the battery of an electric car for the benefit of the grid. So with this technology, a car can be charged and discharged based on different signals that are sent to it. The notion is that electric vehicles and their batteries represent a mobile power resource from which power can be withdrawn when the vehicle is not being used for transportation. The wavering power demand generates heavy loads that cannot be covered by the power plant's generators and must be balanced out by the public power grid. This technology will play a crucial role in the ancillary services market, which addresses power grids where they need continual need for stabilization. V2G has upper hand because it can stabilize the grid closer to the demand endpoints. So this particular technology, we had created a prototype for this model using lesser voltage and depicting the grid in a smaller version. And that's how we had gotten our observations and then had presented it and proved that this is possible. This technology has also been in place in Sweden And countries like Sweden, which are 100% renewable, and they have worked onto it for years to come. Concluding to this portion, the results of the project argue. Okay, I'm so sorry. The results of the project argue on how during peak or additional load demand, energy can be supplied through electric vehicles that are parked ideally at different electric vehicle charging stations, provided that these electric vehicles have sufficient state of charge. That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bakul. Now we will open up the floor to any feedback or any questions from anyone. So go ahead and unmute or type in the chat.
Oh, cool.
Alright.
How successful has Sweden been with this technology?
Sweden has worked with in the smaller portion for this one. They have been successful greatly, but for bigger countries like the US, I don't think so. It is kind of feasible to actually work around. I'll agree to that. But considering that it's a good idea and it can be performed at a smaller scale, like with microgrids, and not with the whole of power grid throughout the country, is what I would
Makes sense.
suggest.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Thank you.
So maybe a bit of a continuation of that question, and
Sure.
thank you for your presentation. I guess thinking about the surrounding ecosystem, you know, we have Sweden as a case study, but
Right.
if we were to bring, you know, a technology like this to the US, can you talk about what must be sort of true for the surrounding ecosystem, for us, you know, to bring sort of implemented versions?
What I would say is this technology comes with a million other technologies that are to be implemented before this can be. That includes the demand response, integration of many other renewable energy resources, as well as generation from demand end, so that every house or everyone around within that microgrid is generating their own power, or let's say somebody is supplying it to them. So it comes with a thorough modification of the current system. It comes with implementation of AI as well as implementation of smart grids. And that is what I would say, that all of those factors are needed before this can actually be implemented at a good scale.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess in the same theme, I just had one question. Oh, sorry, Lisa, did I cut you off? Thanks for your presentation, first off, and I think it's a really cool idea to bring here to the US. What do you think is a bigger challenge? I guess if you were to try to roll this out in the US, would it be more technical issues, like just our technology is not there yet? Or do you think it would be more emotional, getting people on board to use this kind of grid?
I would say we do have the technology to actually implement this, and I think emotionally also we are like well enough to be able to implement this. Even people would actually support, but the biggest constraint on this would be the costs. The cost would be pretty high to be able to implement this, and based on that particular factor, I think nobody would actually be able to come up and say that we support this.
Okay, thank you.
And sorry, just to follow up to that, if
Sure.
we have time, from your vantage point, is that because the technology itself is quite expensive to implement, or is it sort of the scale at which we need to implement it? Like I'm kind of curious about the system in the unit case. Is it super expensive, like the $50,000 alternative meat burger that we have
I
on the
feel the
market?
technology is not that expensive, but modifying the current system, which has already been in place, and the amount of labor that will go into changing all of these things, the amount of education that will need to be provided to every person who is working in this industry will cost a lot, and that will impact more than the technology itself.
Yeah, yeah. No, thank you. I mean, yeah, that's kind of the case in climate.
Because we do have electric charging stations, we do have renewable integration, which is happening at a good scale even now. We have things in place at like smaller scales. We have the current technology, but the costs are going to be higher for removing the existing system and getting this in place.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Do we have do we have time for one last question?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I was also wondering in the same vein if there's anything that can be done to influence user behavior, because it also sounds like the whole system and its success would also rely on EV owners being willing to participate in something like this.
I would say that let's assume that EV owners are satisfied with their current status with respect to EV, how they are being charged, when are they being charged. If that is the case, then I feel that it shouldn't be affected. The technology, once implemented, should be implemented with a good user interface so that they do not face that particular problem. How this actually works is basically, let's say if the user wants the vehicle to be charged at a certain percentage by a particular time, they need to just let us know. And if that is the case, and if they're satisfied with that, I think it should work fine. And they'll be willing to sign up for it if it's not affecting their lifestyle in any way. If it is implemented badly or there are some errors in this process, that might actually take them down. And that is the case, is what I would say, would affect them wanting this to be implemented.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Elisa, do you have a question?
Yes. Hi, Bakul. Great
Hello.
presentation. Super interesting. I am curious, and probably I guess I get the last question, trumping one more. What technologies are you most interested in? Are you going to move to Switzerland, or is there something else you're going to pursue here?
For now, I'm really interested in integration of solar as of now. I'm working with the recurrent energy as part of the pilot program that we have. My duty is also to let them know how I like this program and how do I evaluate this. My plan is to work in the same industry for a good time to come within the solar on utility scale. And I plan to work on this, or maybe research, and in a year or two, or I don't know when, maybe pursue a PhD and grow from there.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Lovely.
All right, thank you so much, everyone, for all of that wonderful feedback. I'd like to start off by congratulating all of our students for completing all of the elements of the Repitcher Summer Career Accelerator Program. Thank you to the audience for coming to support your peers or anyone you might know, or even just coming to learn more about STEM education. So also thank you so much to the judges for coming and taking the time to judge and to support the next generation of STEM. I know that definitely for me, these types of events really give STEM like a human face and makes it so much less scary, knowing that everyone's always looking out for each other and trying to support and uplift each other. So yeah, thank you so much. That concludes this afternoon's program. I will stay on if anyone has any questions or comments, and yeah, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Dulce, for moderating really well.
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks for your presentations.
Yes, thank you, everyone. That was great.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Come back.
Thank you.
Bye.